Many travel therapists are not sure when negotiations are supposed to happen. Are you supposed to have that conversation when you first get the pay package, before you even submit? Are you supposed to do it in between submittal and interviewing? Are you supposed to do it after you've interviewed but before you've signed the contract? I'm going to tell you the best practice, even though it is possible for you to try it in different moments. 90% of the time, the best time to negotiate is going to be before you pick which recruiter is going to submit you to the job. Once you've submitted to a job, you're pretty much saying, I've chosen this staffing agency to represent me. That is who I'm going to work through for the job. And there's this thing called a double submittal, when multiple staffing agencies submit someone to the same job. And many times the computer systems don't even allow multiple submittals. Or if you did get submitted by multiple people, sometimes it can actually penalize you, making it harder for you to get the job. The goal is that we're picking the one person that we want to represent us to submit us to the job. If we've had a staffing agency submit us and then after we've changed our mind, sometimes we could get them to take the submittal away and have someone put it in, but sometimes it doesn't work that smoothly, whether it's because the people are moving slow, whether it's because the tech doesn't allow it easily. And so the goal here is figure out which staffing agency and which recruiter is gonna give you the best offer before you say, I pick you. It's almost like they're competing with each other at that point, and you're trying to pick the recruiter you want to represent you for that 13-week contract, which can be different than who you pick for the next 13-week contract. Every single assignment is a new chance to potentially pick a new company and a new recruiter. The good rule of thumb is to have 3 recruiters you really, really like. You've already bonded with them, you've interviewed them into you, and you've chosen these 3 recruiters to be part of your long-term team. With that, all 3 of them should have your paperwork already on file, the paperwork needed to submit you. The reason this is so important is because submitting quickly is a really, really big part of getting competitive jobs when there's a lot of submittals. Many times the hiring managers are just looking at the first couple resumes or going down their list and calling, and they'll pretty much stop when they find the first person that interviewed well. You want to be one of the first people they look at. So since speed is so important, you want to get out of the way as much as you can before it comes time to deciding that you want to submit. So all 3 will have the paperwork. And then the goal before you choose which one of them is going to submit you to this job is be able to look at their offers, look at the pay packages they're willing to pay you, and then pick who you want to submit you for this job. Sometimes not all 3 of your recruiters will have access to the same job. And so it's not always that all 3 of them get to show you a pay package, but about 60% of the time, you're gonna see multiple agencies with the same jobs. And so when that happens, definitely have both of them give you their best offer so you can pick the best one. During this time that they know they're competing with other companies and recruiters is such a good time to negotiate quickly, get that pay package as high as you can, lock it in, and then submit. If you're trying to negotiate after submittal, the staffing agency actually has slightly an upper hand because they know you're already locked in with them, and it's much harder for you at that point to switch. Not impossible, it happens sometimes, but much harder, much more friction, and sometimes it doesn't work. The third timing that some people negotiate is after they interview. This is typically only when you're finding out new stuff on the interview. You found out the ratios are way worse than you expected, or there's some new information about the job that makes you think, you know what, I need to get paid a little bit more if I'm gonna say yes to this job. So sometimes you can come back and say, I learned this on the interview, I want to make more money to say yes to this job. And typically that's when you're asking them to go back to the facility and raise up that bill rate because you feel like you're worth more because maybe they're expecting something that's a lot harder than you expected. So you can try it at this time, but that is gonna be less common. Typically the best practice in the industry is negotiate at the front. You already feel very comfortable with the pay, and then you're interviewing just to make sure you're comfortable with the clinical side so you can say yes after they give you the interview and not negotiate at that point. That's gonna be much more rare to negotiate then. So just a very quick recap. 1, work with multiple recruiters. 2, the negotiation is gonna happen really quickly. In future videos, I'm gonna teach you exactly how to do it so you can negotiate quickly and still submit to the job really quickly. And 3, negotiations almost always happen before you're picking who's going to submit you to the job.